Good afternoon, guys. Today is Wednesday, December 2nd. We're going to look at a couple different charts. Instead of doing the broad market analysis, we're going to look at NIO, we'll look at TBIO, RKT, and we'll take a look at Netflix. This is Patrick, and you're trading with Prime. We're going to get straight into it. What we're looking at right now is NIO. We'll take a look at the lower time frames, but we did take a trade today. We went long off of support, and we did a credit spread. I was looking at the option chain this morning, and you're looking at $500 for an option that expiring on December 18th is a little extreme. So we went ahead and went with the credit spread, got paid some credit. Took a trade to the long side. So what you're looking at right now is the full picture of NIO. You can see way back here when it IPO'd. Kind of what it looks like it went sideways wasn't really sideways. I mean, this was a pretty big range back here. And I remember there was some news. The CEO came out over the weekend and aired on the television, and then it just kind of rocketed up here. And this was on February 26th, around that time period, February 26th. And then it had some bad news. I'm not really sure what the news was. I can't remember, but it sold off. And that was really the last time I traded it until we got all the way down closer to the March lows, or a little bit after the March lows. I started getting a little bit more interested. Looking at this back then, I kind of was looking at it thinking, just like a lot of Chinese companies that we see, they do have some issues with the auditing as far as, they don't have to abide by the same rules and regulations as U.S. companies, even though they are listed on U.S. exchanges. And so I kind of stopped trading it for a while there until this year I started getting a little bit more interested in. And then recently we did take a short trade, and I'll kind of go into that, not too much, but just a little bit. I'll get on a smaller time frame here. So last couple of days, it did feel pretty extreme. In fact, if I did a drawdown from the high down to the low, you're looking at 31.92%. When a market is in this pretty big of an uptrend, down 20% to 30% is a good buy. Here's another one back here, negative 34%. That's a good buying zone. And I'm not saying that in the next couple of days, who knows what's going to happen. It could sell off. It could keep rallying. But what I am looking at, I'm more bearish than I am bullish. And that's right. You heard that right. I'm more bearish than I am bullish for a lot of reasons. But I did take this bounce trade today off of the lows, and it was posted in the Discord. If you guys get a chance, check out the rtbtrading.com. You do get a week free trial period for a week, so check that out if you would like. We did post this in the Discord earlier this morning. So close to market open, and it sold off a little bit. I'm going to go into the smaller time frame here. I'm going to go down to the hourly chart. And so it's been on this perpetual uptrend. I mean, you do have higher highs, higher lows, and I could just keep drawing trend lines in here, and it just keeps going higher. One thing we did kind of see is we saw if we did have a trend line in right here, it broke through it. It actually gapped down. It came down to support, so it looked like a good buying area. The only problem is we didn't then take out the high. So your very first warning, let me clean up the screen a little bit. You have a high of 57.20, and then you have it gap down, which was a warning, right? Picture that being one long candle here, and then the bear flag playing out. Here's the bear flag. And so then it rallied up again, and then it rallied almost halfway up that reversal candle from, and I'll give you the date. That was on Monday. And so it rallied back halfway up that retracement, if you will, and then it traded sideways. Maybe it would have went up, maybe it would have went down, but what it did do is it went down. And by going down, you had a high, and then you have a lower high. In fact, by trading down, that was your second warning sign, which is a reason why we went short. Even though it came down to support, you can almost draw, maybe this whole pattern by itself looks more bullish. But because it made these lower highs, we did take a short trade in here, shorting this thing. I didn't write it all the way down to this morning. In fact, I closed it yesterday. That was close enough as far as I was concerned. Yeah, I was thinking maybe it would go to $40. I think we clipped just below $40 today, but that was my buy entry, was around $40. And so Yeah, I went down to about 38.58. I mean, that's a pretty hefty move off of these highs. So what I'm personally looking for is I'm looking for another lower high. So that could come in up here. Maybe there's going to be some resistance up here at one of these price levels. Maybe it will go to all-time highs and just keep rallying. That's absolutely possible. But personally, I think that it's more, we do have a left shoulder over here. We have a head. I don't know, maybe this is definitely speculating, but maybe there's going to be a right shoulder in here. And it isn't necessarily a right shoulder until we break the neckline anyway. So even if it did roll over, you couldn't call that a right shoulder until it broke the neckline. All things to watch. For now, I am definitely long in this trade. I'm looking for $52 roughly as a price target. We'll see if we can get back through these moving averages. We're coming into some resistance right now, and that was a pretty nice move off the low. So I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow to see, like, maybe we'll see a little bit of a pullback tomorrow, and then maybe it will be a higher low compared to this morning. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll move our stop loss up here to around 43.68. I'll move a stop loss up to this area so that if it dip, I'll give it the room, but if it does fall back through that, we'll definitely book profit. If not, we'll try to ride this trade out. TBIO. There it loads, loading. Okay. So TBIO, this is actually posted on the weekend stream. I think we had Sunday. I believe it was Mark who posted this one. And I like the look of this chart. I love how it did run up here, and you saw this high put in a 28.09. It got rejected off of there, and it's been in kind of a downtrend, but you could also look at this and say it's bullish consolidation. I know it's kind of, how long would you want to be in this trade to call it bullish consolidation? But the writing on the wall was really when you saw this support down here, it ran up and then it pulled back. When it made this higher low and then got back through these moving averages, especially when you start to see price try to break out, and then once it broke out, it took off. So right now we're in a daily bullish consolidation as of the last couple days. We'll see what happens. It actually could pull all the way back here and still be bullish on a daily chart. So it depends on how much room you want to give this to run. It can definitely pull back like this, though I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. Maybe it'll just come to this area right here and then keep going. Time will tell. We'll see for tomorrow. It definitely does look like it found resistance up here at this gap, and I know we're not all the way up to the gap just yet. So if we do get closer to that gap, I would imagine it would be filled. It will want to pull price to it. But by then, if we start making higher highs and higher lows from this point, I think we'll be challenging the all-time highs. In fact, before we do see a reversal completely in this name, I would imagine we're going to go test those all-time highs. We are getting a little bit extended on the daily chart, so I'm not sure that I would necessarily enter swing trades. You could definitely enter swing trades. I'm not sure how much money you would want to put on it as far as swinging up to the long side. Definitely would not be interested in shorting this name. It's on a clear and obvious uptrend. So we'll see how that plays out. Let's look at RKT, and then we'll get into one other one. We'll wrap it up. So RKT, I do like this chart. The reason why I went long today was I saw this. We've had this consolidation in and around the moving averages. So I don't necessarily look at these three moving averages anymore as resistance because we've already traded back through them over and over again. But I do notice this price channel slash, I don't know if this is a falling wedge. I don't know I don't know how we would draw this, but I do see a channel, some sort of slanted resistance in here. And then you have almost like a left shoulder, a head, a right shoulder. Again, you would have to break through the neckline to call it that. But this is what I'm looking at. I personally went long today. I know we had a pretty red day yesterday, and today is almost like an indecision day. It's possible that we start selling off, and I would put my stop loss, rather, this is where my stop loss is at the low of this candle. It's 1965. I am anticipating when I normally don't do this where I get into a trade early, and I would normally want to wait for that breakout. The difference with RKT is that we noticed in the past it does run up quite a bit when it does get going. And you'll see candles back here where you'll see a reversal candle, and you'll see how the breakout came a few days after this actual reversal candle back here. And then I kind of see the same thing. I see this hammer candle right here, And maybe this is an up move, and then we've traded sideways for a couple days, and maybe we will get higher prices. So risk versus reward wise, that is definitely something I'm interested in, and that's why we went to the long side today on that. Let's look at Netflix, and then we'll wrap it up. Netflix, I like the way this chart looks. I was hoping for a little bit lower prices. We talked about Netflix on stream. Overall, this pattern that it's creating right now is definitely more bullish than it is bearish, because you've had this huge run up and it's just been trading sideways, consolidating, and it never really got below this price area right here. You have this reversal candle in here, and then you have a breakout. This green candle right here is the breakout, and it's basically been trading sideways, not falling below that, maybe giving the 200 period moving average a chance to catch up to price. Let's go to the weekly chart. Oops. So this is the weekly chart, clear uptrend on Netflix all the way back from 750 from back in the day. And here we are, we're just kind of coiling here. We could almost look at this as a weekly reversal candlestick pattern, not pattern, but the stick itself, which is right here, and it's definitely on heavier than normal volume. The thing is I do like the way this is still setting. It looks like it's setting up for, it's beginning to curl here. I like that curl. We saw the same thing in Walmart a few weeks ago, or probably a couple months ago by now, but we saw the same kind of curling action. We saw it recently in DKNG off of the most recent daily chart pivot off of that chart. But let's go ahead and go down to the daily time frame, and you can really kind of see this coiling action right here. I know it's done it a few times already, so there's only so many times that we'll actually do that. Maybe we will get a breakout, and I don't even know how we would draw this in. Maybe we could draw something like that. I would almost, we'll see what happens. I went long today for this reason. If I go down to a lower, well, let's try to zoom in a little bit and you can see it maybe on this chart. So I saw this pattern right here. So it basically found the 200 period moving average as support. It's rallied away from there, and then it really hasn't fallen below. Maybe one day it fell back below this breakout right here, and so it looks like it wants higher prices. And then of course we did break out of this pattern yesterday. Today we were retracing. So this morning what I saw on the screen was a giant red candle, especially on the hourly chart, and I knew that if we got below the low of this candle right here, this green candle, I knew if we got below that we would most likely come back down into the range and probably test the bottom of the range. So that was a very good risk versus reward setup, as far as I know where I'm wrong. I'm wrong if we start getting below that low. And so we entered to the long side at the low of that candle. And I'm going to go to the lower time frames. Let's go to the 15-minute chart this time. And so now you can clearly see that breakout. Let me zoom in just a little bit. You can definitely see the breakout, right? So you have these candles back here. That could be one area. You could even draw a line right here, but you had that breakout. And so what this morning was, is when we were down here in this area and you saw these huge red candles, I was taking this trade anticipating that this would be a dip buy opportunity, as far as we just went down to test a former breakout area, which was this area right here. And then we immediately rocketed away from that area. That tells me that this is more bullish than bearish. And then of course you saw these following candlesticks here. At this point, I think I'll just keep my stop loss right where it's at. Honestly, you could probably put a stop loss down here, but that's a little far away from my entry point. So I'm going to looking to maybe down here, or even at this pivot low that we saw from this morning's dip. Maybe we could put a stop loss down there. We'll see how the trade plays out. You could also put it under this candle in here, and so I'll zoom in just a little bit and kind of show you that. So here's the breakout area. You have the low of this down here. You could move your stop loss underneath this candle, because the chances are if we do fall below this price, and I'll give you an actual price, it's around $598.50. If we trade below that, we'll most likely come down to this next pivot low, and then below that we'll come down to the gap, and then below the gap's going to want to get filled. So it kind of happens in order: 1, 2, 3 support areas. As far as targets to the upside, I told the traders today I'm looking for I believe it was 525, 550. Yeah, 525, because we had this gap back here. I would be more looking at this gap. I know we'll have resistance between now and then. We'll definitely have resistance around 515 to 518, and then we'll have some more resistance at this gap fill at 525. Definitely going to be some resistance there, but if we can clear that area, I would be eyeing this 550 more, because it's a round number, but there is some resistance back here if you consolidation periods on the chart if you look back to previous times. So we'll see how it goes. Again, feel free to like this if you gain value out of it. And check us out at rtbtrading.com. Thank you guys.